Me now? Yay! Were you able to do some of the class still just by watching? You were. Okay, sorry about that. Laying on your back. My apologies. Well done, Tom, for giving me. It happens about 3 times a year. I don't put the sound on for the poor Zoomers, and they struggle at home trying their best. Just raise their leg and put the belt round them. Those poor Zoomers. They did their best trying to watch me, and then I went off screen, and then they had to entirely guess what was going on. Legs straight up, breathing through the nose, neck relaxed, lower back relaxed, shoulders relaxed. Thanks, Zoomers. I really appreciate you hanging in there. Extend the lower leg. So skim, 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 skim. Marvelous. And then breathe, 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 breathe. Now your thigh bone is the heaviest bone in the body. Oh, and by the way, Zoomers, all the stuff you missed was profound, wise, and interesting. All the stuff that you didn't hear was profound. Anyway, I was trying to say some more profound, wise, and interesting things, but I can't guarantee it. The thigh bone drops down into the socket. The thigh bone is the heaviest bone in the body. And that, I hope, gives a sense of this Dzogchen that I was talking about before that Zoomers didn't hear, which means the great perfection, which is a sense of relaxation. A sense of relaxation. So breath, 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 breath. Bend that lower leg, release the upper. Take a deep breath that I can hear. So this sense of trust, sense of letting go, sense of it being all right now. And then raise the other leg. When I was about 19, a friend of mine, Peter Sykes, we were all into, all the obligatory hippie things. We all had crystals and long hair and smelled of patchouli. And Peter had this cassette, and he said, "You've got to listen to it." And it was this guy, and all he used to say was, "It's all right, isn't it? Right now, it's all okay, isn't it? Right now." And that was kind of the cassette. But it stayed with me, and it's essentially was Dzogchen teaching. Now, what it means, it doesn't mean that, everything is always lovely. But it means when you relax into the wholeness of things, there's a dance going on, and it's impersonal. Oftentimes it seems personal, but it's impersonal. So we often say yoga doesn't need a yogin. Meditation doesn't need a meditator. And so the weight of the thigh bone itself, being the heaviest bone in the body, is already dropping down into the hip joint. When we trust in that, we breathe in a way that trusts and therefore allows that. Let's skim the other leg. So skim the heel and extend the leg out. See if you can evoke some stretch from the groin, the top of the inner thigh. Okay. Breathe through your nose. Excuse me. So I find, maybe you will too, that I can nudge a bit more stretch from the inner groin of that lower leg by moving my foot, by pulling on the floor with my heel, pulling on the floor with the heel. And then you can really get a little bit more extension, and that is, of course, is of the lower end of the iliacus and psoas muscles. Bend the lower leg, release the upper. Bring the belt down, take a deep breath, pop your hands under your head, draw a breath in and a breath out as if it was the weekend. Take a few breaths like it was the weekend. Lift your feet up off the floor, lift your head. Breathe through your nose. We're going to touch or tap the toes both together onto the floor while keeping the back peaceful, which means really activating the abdominals by pushing the lower back into the floor. If you do it right, you might even tremble. Trembling. Then you lift up your feet, again, keeping the lower back as close to the floor as you can. So the lower back muscles are very, very peaceful. And then you repeat. And we'll do 3 in total. So that means 1 more. Sense of moment to moment awareness. Well done. And then the head comes down, the feet come down. You take the biggest, deepest breath you can. And relax into the breath. Take a few of those deep breaths and really observe the naturalness, the selflessness. Nobody needs to do breathing. It's just there is breathing. Our only part in this is to accept the invitation to let go. There's an invitation to let go. What we need to learn is to trust letting go. The more we trust letting go, the better. Now we're going to raise up the leg that's furthest away from this side of the room, or at home if you're zooming, either leg. And similarly, face about around the front of the heel. Then skim the lower leg. So skim the lower leg. That's one method anyway, skimming. Hold the strap with one hand only. Your other hand goes on top of your other thigh. And there it might encourage breath-centered release. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Breath-centered release. Pull the upper leg towards you a bit and then out to its own side slowly. 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 So that you can feel a stretch that is an invitation to say yes, or in Sanskrit, Om. Sorry about that. That was my mum running past. It's just quite wild in the mornings. Raise up that leg and bend the other leg. Release the upper, both feet on the floor. Let's take a deep breath. So the more we can surrender to these spontaneous breaths, the better. These spontaneous breaths. Our only issue, our only problem really is assuming a person where there is no person. Assuming a person where there is no person. Now that's not to say that there is no, sorry, it sounds very cryptic now. It's not to say that there is no person, but just assuming one where there is none, that's the problem. So what do? We assume that there's a breather, that there's a meditator, that there's a dancer. So it kind of sounds like madness, doesn't it, that sentence? But we assume that there's a person made up of whatever emotions are around at the moment. In fact, we just manufacture this idea of self out of whatever's lying around at the moment. So it's a bit of a scarecrow. So sometimes there's sadness or happiness. So it's like, I'm happy, I'm sad, or the body's well or it's unwell. So we go, okay, that's what part of it as well. Or then a memory comes up, we identify with that. But the reality is there are no people. It's a bit of a phrase in our house that I keep rolling out. It's not no one else in the house. I just keep rolling it out. There are no people. Which isn't to say that, I'm not here and you're not there, but what I am isn't emotions and thoughts and ideas and physical sensations, because they change and they're co-created. All right, enough of that metaphysics. Raise up your other leg. Now, the reason I mention it, you might think, well, I just came for a stretch, actually, Jim. I don't want to know that there are no people. It's confusing because, what about all the people in my way on the bus? What if there are no people? How come there's no seats on the bus sometimes? Can I just sit down even though there appears to be a person there? What it means for yoga practice is that we don't create these obstacles to the way things are. The way things are is like this, right? And like this isn't a thought or an idea. It's not mine, and it's not mine either. It's just like this. So, you have to open to it, which isn't something you do, because the paradigm of you is sort of a separate experience or a separate idea. And this body, breath, brain, thoughts, always all one. Society. Your thoughts are co-created by your society, by our society. Very few of us think that Ra is the sun god anymore, Okay, extend out the lower leg, skin, hold the strap with one hand only, pull the leg towards you and out to its own side, and then between the front hip points, that's the inguinal ligament, between the front hip points, imagine and feel and breathe this openness. And you'll understand that there is no person, but not that that isn't another view. I don't believe in people, Stop talking to me, there's no one there, it's not, that is madness. The point is to open up, to not cling, to let things be the way they are. They're like this. And there's nothing to cling around that. There's nothing to sort of own about that. There's nothing to grasp about that. The way the air moves in the room, the way the breath moves in the body, the way the mind moves, the way the tissues move, the way the planet spins, the air pressure, everything's everything. Okay, bring the leg back up when you're ready. Good job. Bend the lower leg, release the upper leg. Take a deep breath and take another after that. The problem with all this yoga philosophy, what makes it so difficult, is it's so easy. And that makes it so difficult. It's so easy. What we need to know is this, isn't it? I think everyone would agree. The only thing you ever need to deal with is this. It's the eternal this, isn't it? I mean, whenever the future comes, it will be this, won't it, again? If you see what I mean. Now have your elbows bent and your elbows a little higher than your shoulders. And something more than a right angle between your bicep and forearm. Something more than a right angle. And then relax if you want. But even that, I used to find that Alan Partridge program quite funny and awful at the same time. But there's a good episode where he's made a relaxation tape. And he decides to listen to his own relaxation tape in his travel lodge that he lives in. It's all quite tragic. And he lays down and he can hear his own voice saying, relax. And he gets up suddenly and tidies up his shoes, and then he goes back and relax. And gets up again suddenly and he shuts some drawers and keeps doing this sort of, because you can't relax, you know. That's an oxymoron. Relaxation isn't done by a person. Relaxation is the absence of doing, including doing relaxing. Relaxation is the absence of a person doing anything or not doing anything. Relaxation is Dzogchen. Lift up your feet and your back will just kiss the floor. It will just kiss the floor. Flex your hips until the lower back presses into the floor and the pelvis lifts. And then shift your bum towards me, this side of the room, and bring your knees the other way. Now, I like to stack the knees, one above the other. Then you breathe your back arm back down. So your pelvis goes one way, your legs go the other. This is called Jatara Parivartanasana, which means tummy totally turned around. Okay, so you can feel, especially if you had a big breakfast. So you can feel, oh, it's squashing my breakfast. Breathing into it. Okay, come back up. Come on, come back up. Oh, I had quite a small portion of Bio-Me, which is a cereal that I'm quite into at the moment. So I can feel that getting squashed. So once you're back down in the middle, just rearrange the pelvis and the hips so you feel long everywhere, and then raise up again. And as before, as you raise or pull your thighs towards you, let your lower back kiss the floor. And really feel the abdominals kicking in. Use that to scoot the buttocks the opposite way to the way the legs are going to go. Try and keep the knees atop each other. And you can either float the legs or land the legs. Try and keep the knees up high. Suck in the tummy, lift up the chest, and breathe the back arm back down. Feel that total turnaround of the tummy. Jatara Parivartanasana. So the pari means totally. Navata comes from a root vrit, which means to turn around. So totally turn around your tummy. And if you can, you know, if you didn't have a full English, then suck in your tummy and lift your chest. And that will turn you further. Okay. Well done. Come back slowly. Well done, everyone. Feet on the floor, scoot the buttocks, take a breath. Take a breath. So sometimes you forget to generate a person. Sometimes if something's really beautiful, like a sunset, or really intense, like a really good coffee, or like a kiss on the cheek from someone you deeply love and deeply loves you, then in those moments, you forget to run your programs of self. And also when you first wake up, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but when you first wake up, sometimes you don't know where you are or who you are for about 3 seconds max. You wake up and you're like, what? Who? Where am I? What? Who? And then you have to remember who you are. Huh? And you generate all the programs associated with who you are, who you're supposed to be in relationship to people and to society and so on. But you're alive in the moment before you generate those programs, fully alive. This is called, in the Shaiva tradition, resting in Shiva. Shiva is the metaphor for pure consciousness. Then we're going to roll over whenever we're ready, including straight away. Roll over. Go on, you can do it. And then just come up from the side, nice and easy. Well done, well done, well done. And we're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. Down face dog. We can do it whenever you're ready. It's quick as that, or slowly if you like. Make sure your hands are level, equidistant from the front and the sides of the mat. So just check for that. Equidistant from the front and the sides of the mat. And then it's really nice to spread the fingers, I think. I think it's really nice to spread the fingers because it optimizes your contact with the mat. And then you're pushing. Now, what pushes you forwards, which we don't want, of course, are tight hamstrings. So we can massage those out by doing things like bending and re-extending the legs. That can help with the hamstrings. Or some people find it useful to just kind of move the pelvis one way or the other. I sometimes like to just stretch one leg at a time. So I take the weight off one foot and just do one leg and then the other. So there's lots of techniques you could use to begin to hydrate the hamstring muscles and increase their compliancy. So we're looking to take time to open the armpits, inner armpit stretches. You feel that? Outer armpit follows. The inner armpit's the leader, and the outer armpit's just behind it, trying to catch up. The armpit is also called the armpit chest in some schools of yoga, because it's where your chest and armpit meet. Come back to stretching the armpits again and again, but don't use force. Patanjali makes it so clear in the Yoga Sutra that yoga should be relaxed and an absorption into the infinite. That's Patanjali, not me, but I do happen to agree with Patanjali. Now, shoulders forwards and shoulders directly above the wrists. And this is a tough pose for many of us. Well done in advance. Kumbhakasana. Try to keep your bum down. Not too low, but not too high. No floating buttocks, no wilting pelvises. Civil play. Contextualizing the next moments, I love you. Come down to Chaturanga Dandasana, up to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. That's head up dog position. You can do that with your toes tucked under or toes pointing back, up to you. Toes tucked under can be useful for massaging it in because it gives you a bit of easier range of movement. Breathe into it your own way. Toned tummy. Long arms help with this pose. So if you've got shorter arms, you can do this pose perhaps at home, sometimes with blocks for your hands. Roll on the toes, come back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's the down face dog. Well done. Well done. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Open the inner, open the outer, open the under armpits. Stretch up through the chest to the groins. And stretch up through the outer armpits too. Deep, natural, honest breathing. Well done. Come down slow and easy to regular kneeling, for which you can use blocks and or a blanket. One hand on top of the other, which is sometimes called Bhairavi or Bhairava Mudra. So again, that's a Shaiva term. And of course, we're not in a Shaiva center, we're in a Buddhist center. So, but the Shaiva tradition has had an enormous imprint on the Buddhist tradition, and the Buddhist traditions had an enormous imprint on the Shaiva tradition. The Shaivas adopted the idea of emptiness. And the Baudas, the Buddhists, adopted many different practices and also iconography. So if you see, for instance, Padmasambhava, he's pretty much dressed as Shiva. You know, he's got all Shiva's clothes on. He's got Shiva's Trishula, the trident. He's got sometimes carries a bowl, like a skull bowl, which comes from the Kapala tradition, which is a Shaiva tradition. So on. So take deep breaths. Anyway, the hands are in Bhairava or Bhairavi, and these are names of wrathful forms of Shiva.
Now, wrathful is a translation that British people translated these sort of fierce-looking Buddhas and Bodhisattvas as wrathful. But it's more common in the culture to call them Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in awe and wonder. So if you ever see this is what I recommend you do today. Make a mental note. Look up a picture of a statue, has to be a statue, of Padmasambhava. Right? Look up an image like that. And you'll see that Padmasambhava's eyes are wide open, like he's sort of shocked. Because he's in awe and wonder, like he's woken up to the way things are, which is like, beyond words. And you can only do that by opening up to it as a whole. We call it prakriti, like everything's everything. And you can start by just feeling how your body is connected to the breath. That's one of the aspects of everything being everything. So if you massage your body, perhaps through movement, your breath might open up. Great. Okay, release your hands. And we're going to come. Now, I sort of stopped teaching this. I used to teach it all the time, but I only teach it occasionally now, but I think it's coming back big time. And it's Dandasana. And the reason I stopped teaching it is because lots of people hate it. but so, anyway, it's not a very good introduction, is it? You might hate it. We're going to sit on 2 blocks, short end to short end. Voila, ici. Short end to short end, like that. If you're near an outer wall, have the blocks near the outer wall, whichever side you're in, and have a belt nearby too. Now you might think, well, if so many people find it difficult, why are you doing it, Jim? I thought you were supposed to be all Buddhisty and nice. Well, sometimes, but also. Sounds so good. I liked it. No, your laugh is a delight. Oh, I loved it. I knew it was meant lovingly, but I hoped it was meant evilly, but I knew it wasn't. Legs extended, feet spread, belt nearby. Drag your hands back and place your hands on the blocks. So there are stations to Dandasana, stations. And the first station I call ranging around, which means that you're moving left, right, forwards, backwards, not randomly while you daydream and think about the past or future or fantasize, whatever we do, creating alternative realities. But we're ranging around looking for openings. So opportunities where there's a little softening and the back might just rise up. And the truth is, you have to keep finding them to avoid your back becoming tight. So you're ranging around, avoiding your back becoming tight. Looking for opportunities to rise the back without tightness. And that's our foundation. And it's a station out of 8 stations that I think we could just keep going with, But we're going to look at another station on top. It's called the drop lifting. Now, the drop lifting is where the top of the thigh bones drop, and spontaneously, as part of that dropping, the spine rises up. But if you try to do it, you will fail. Because as I've tried to explain, this kind of quite confusing in a way, but movement doesn't require a mover. In fact, it just gets in the way. Ask anybody who's a runner, for example, and they'll tell you after a while they're in a flow. It's like they're not doing it. Or a chef, they'll be like they're absorbed in the flow. Or a dancer, or a piano player, or a poet, or a painter, or a writer. things are optimal when oneself is out of the way. Things are optimal when oneself is out of the way. Drop lifting is like that. The thigh bones drop, boom, like a stone, boom. No pushing needed, boom. And automatically with that rises up. There's a rising up, like a stone dropping into water. Boom. Okay, release nice and easy. For me, I want to stay in that pose for 20 minutes. But I think other people have different views sometimes, but I love it. Now we're going to take a belt. You probably need one of these longer belts. If you haven't got one, there is a few spare ones. These colorful ones are longer. Oh, you've got one already, sorry. And we're going to put that around us. Now at home, if you don't have a belt, a dressing gown belt will do just fine. Pleasure. Yeah, dressing gown belt will do just fine. Or a couple of belts tied together. But I think everyone in the room has got, we've got enough of these colorful belts. Pleasure. And we're going to come into Parapurna Navasana. So we're going to do it up in a loop, the belt that is. We're going to be sitting straight on the floor, facing into the middle of the room so we can all see each other. And once you've done the belt up in a loop, keep it fairly long, but get ready to adjust it as we go. It goes around the bottom edge of your shoulder blades and around your feet with your knees bent to 90 degrees, a 90-degree angle between the calf and the thigh. And a block is inserted into this whole scenario. Okay, so there you go. That's all it is. Like what Jim Tarrant is doing. James Ashley Tarrant on his birth certificate. And that's it. I quite like it. It's like sitting in a little Dodgem car, but unfortunately there's only one pedal. Let's hope it's not just the accelerator or just the brake. It's useless if either is really. So make sure it's 90 degrees. If you have less than 90 degrees at the back of your knees, it's not going to work. If you have less than 90 degrees at the back of your knees, it's not going to work. And if you have more than 90 degrees, it's not going to work either. Great, good. Yeah, so right angle, like the edge of your block. At the edge, the corners of your block are 90 degrees. So the angle at the back of the knee should be the same. Having got that perfect and being happy and well and making sure the belt is done up.
Is this 90 degrees?
You have got it absolutely down.
No, I didn't have to think much about it. I just got into it.
There you go. There you go. Didn't have to think much about it. Sorry?
I'm feeling it here.
Anterior tibialis. Kate, you can need your arms above it and it needs to be a bit lower down your back. A bit lower, so it lifts your chest. That's you've turned that into a formidable weapon, Paul. Firing blocks out in all directions. I'll come and help anyone who's struggling, but we're going to lean back. We're going to place our hands behind us. We're going to keep that belt down underneath the shoulder blades. For many of us, probably most of us, it will rise up towards the armpits. To bring it down again, bend your knees and just scooch it down. Because the purpose is to elevate your chest. So if it goes up too high towards your armpits, it won't elevate the chest. Good. You could loosen it a bit. So bend it just a tiny bit. And Kate, yours needs to be loosened a bit as well. A bit too tight. Well done, Paul. Doing good. Hands. Oh, but before you come up, come down again. Come off the blocks. Don't sit on blocks. Yeah, that will make life better. And have your hands behind you, fingers facing forward. Now you got it. Great. Good. It's quite a thing, isn't it? Quite a thing. Don't sit on blocks to do it, though. Come off. Yeah. Unless you like danger. That's it. Breathe into it. Once you start getting, I'm quite lucky in that part of my personality tends to be cocky. So it's quite good to be cocky in this pose. You're just kind of like, whatever. Quite useful to be cocky. Yeah. Don't think too much, as Simon mentioned already. I've done it a few times. It's true. That's part of the cockiness.
You're really good photographer this morning.
Thanks very much. You too.
Well, no.
You are, always.
Well,
Always, Simon. So you can keep the hands on the floor behind you. You can extend them up forwards like this. And well done, you got it. You got it. Good. Kate, I love that. You're looking almost Egyptian with that their arms folded like that. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. Ruth's in as well. It's catching on the Egyptian look. No, you're good. No, you're good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. I couldn't ask for more. Yes, that's nice too. All right, just to prove that all that fussing around's worth it, let's do it without the belt. Just to prove it's worth it. Now, Kate just gave me a look and just went, no, I'm not going to let go of this belt. It was like, get out of here, Jim. So if you want, let's try it without, just as a sort of reference. That means leaning back by 30 degrees, raising the legs up by 60 degrees, arms extended out. Yay, Francis. Breathe easy. Go on, Kate. 30 going back, 60 going up. Yes, Simon, yes. Beautiful, beautiful. That's a nice hand position. It's kind of like an advert for, I don't know, vitamin B. Vitamin B drinks. Breathe into it. All right, you've done enough. Bend your legs. Hug your legs. Yeah, now you want the belt back. Hug the legs, lift up, breathe through the nose. Relax the eyes. Relax the jaw. It's a beautiful day. So we need an impression to release an impression. We have these impressions that's stored in our nervous system that make us have tendencies. Samskara can mean an impression, can mean a tendency. And these tendencies, if followed, become deeper tendencies, become compulsions. And then there's no freedom. We're not acting from what we truly want or how we truly would like to respond appropriately to the moment. All of us want to respond to the moment as it is. But most of us are instead reacting on the basis of samskaras, conditioned tendencies, meeting the world and then reacting. But what we want to do instead is use another samskara coming in, a sensation of any kind, to invite a release, and then we accept that invitation. That's the pattern. Get something to invite a release, a rich sensation of any kind, and then accept the invitation. And you do that through your breath. And this is an invitation to openness, to have your mind empty of all that clutter. That sounds good, doesn't it? Because yogis understand that awareness itself, without getting caught up in its objects, has the power to know and act. And this is our problem. We think if we're empty, we'll just be some sort of weird, sort of zombie-like shell, but it's the opposite of that. The opposite of that. Okay. Let's come out from that, and we're going to fold over a bit of our mat, an end of the mat. And this side in the room, if you're in the room here, you're going to fold it and then refold it like that, back on itself. So you end up with this, quite frankly, rather luxurious surface here. So it should be on that side of your mat, nearest that wall. Wherever you are in the room, that's the end you're folding. Then you're going to use a cork block. Other blocks can be used as well. In fact, some people find a cork block too high. I don't, but some people do. So you can use a cork block or a regular block. That's at the other end of the mat, and then you kneel, right? On the folded over bit. That's what it's for. It's for your comfort and your delight. And you stand with your hands on your hips, like a very small person with a lot of attitude, which often goes together, actually. Do you think? We've got a dog next door. He's a little dog. He's got a lot. He's always shouting at everyone. No, he's not quite as little as that. I don't know what he is, but he's ever so naughty. Puts his head through through the fence and barks at me. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like this big. It's really angry with everyone. Okay, so extend out your leg and place your foot onto the block. Now, what we'd like to have is the heel lined up with the knee. That's what we'd like to have. And we'd also like to have, if it's not too much to ask, the standing leg slightly leaning. Slightly leaning. Now, if this is tricky, you can do another version like this, and leaning like that, raising your arm up, or like this. Stretch the arms, well done. Turn the palms, release the roots of the neck, raise the lead arm and the toes from the block, do a sort of wheelie with your foot. And then as you come down, let the foot come down, turn the body upwardly, stretch the top arm up. Stretch further over. I don't know if anyone ever says, oh, my beauty arm. Yeah, good. I'm glad it's still in vogue. And then the top arm comes to wherever it comes to. So this is called parigasana, which means the crossbar of a gate, which apparently is what you look like. And you breathe into it. Okay, groovy. Come up slowly, don't rush. Good job. Yeah, exactly. And walk your... I always enjoy the faces as people come up. It's a variety of faces. Quite a lot of this face. Let's do the second side. Quite a lot of that face. So, it's intense, right? Tivrasam veganam āsanas. Not even going to translate that. Just going to leave it in Sanskrit. Same thing. So just fold the other end of your mat. Some of you know I call this the yogi's espresso. Because, you know, if you've not awakened yet this morning, then that will do it, I think. The heel lines up with the knee. Like that. Good job. The standing leg slightly leaning. Slightly leaning. You got it. It's quite nice, I think, to think of the hip in and the groin up. The hip in and the groin up. Stretch. Do a wheelie with your foot. Being a child that was brought up in the 70s, I was perpetually trying to do wheelies. Could never do. Stretch the arms. Inhale. Exhale. Come down. The foot comes down. You begin to turn. Stretch up and over. Support the stretch at the back of the leg by imagining and feeling the skin and the superficial fascia drawing deeper. Good job. Don't hold your breath unless you like to hold your breath, unless you like having your head filled with enormous amounts of clutter. But if you prefer to have an empty mind, oh my God, your life could be like that immediately. The empty mind is available. Mm. But of course, the reason we get confused is like, I've got to empty my mind. That's not it. The invitation to release just has to be accepted. We have to say yes. And for that, we have to have trust in emptiness. Wunderbar. Come on up, if you can. Yeah, well done, Kate. Keep coming. Ah. And then facing back towards this side of the room, kneeling and breathing. Kneeling and breathing. Take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 deep breaths. Ah. Let us be standing. Stand up. Standing up, facing the front of the room. Well done, everyone. Feet together. relax. Just relax if you want. It's fine not to be. Some people enjoy being tense and neurotic. If you enjoy that, by all means, carry on. But if you want to relax, you think, yeah, all right, we can go ahead. And one nice thing to do is to move your feet, because moving the plantar fascia on the feet moves the fascia all the way up through the legs. So I find that just lovely. And how often do our feet get a look in? How often do how often are they even noticed? So it's really nice to lift them, to stretch them, to land them, to lift them, to stretch them, to land them. Now you can either step, or if you're feeling lively, feeling lively. Oh, good, you see. Class has brought life to you. Left toes in, right foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel. So you end up with heel to arch alignment. Raise your lead arm, inhale. Exhale, hips move, hamstring stretch, front thigh comes online subtly, top arm comes up, breath is through the nose, brain is soft, eyes are soft, jaw is soft, tongue is soft. There's movement, which is part of the yogin's spontaneous response. Spontaneous response. The hand is on the, yeah, good, thanks, Norma. It's just that you must have known that was like, George, minds are all connected, even then we make a lot of noise over the top of the connection, but we're connected. Inhale. Gorgeous. Hands on your hips, feet face forwards. Take a deep breath. And feel for the pelvic floor in a very relaxed and subtle way. Feel for the pelvic floor. So for me to feel my pelvic floor, I often have to move the pelvis to tune in, because of course then the muscles expand and contract, and it helps me sort of hone in on them. So the muscles of the pelvic floor are the muscles between the pubic bone at the front and the tailbone at the back. And there are clearly muscles there, and there are clearly nerve endings that go to those muscles. So you can clearly feel them. But you need to tune in. And that means tuning out of other preoccupations like spacing out or thinking about the past or the future. So tuning in on the pelvic floor is an enormously wonderful, powerful, natural, easy thing to do. Stay in touch with the pelvic floor as you turn your back toes in, front foot and leg out, turning on the ball of the foot, finishing off the turn on the heel to arch alignment. Raise the arms to raise the side ribs. The tummy is lightly toned, keeping the lower back lovely and long. Inhale, raise the lead arm. Exhale, Utthita Trikonasana. Relax and enjoy. Breathe. Feel it out. I find subtle movements help me to feel it out. Keep your hand palm down on your shin rather than pushing against the inner leg, because that will only stretch a very small amount of the chest. We want to involve everything. Imagine for a moment you felt great. Imagine just imagine, like, you could even say, I feel great. I feel great. And what it is, like, or whatever phrase, any positive phrase, like, I love this. I love this. I love this. Yeah. This isn't a part of yoga called bhavana, or just bhava, attitude. Inhale. Come on up. Well done. Hands to hips. Breathe through the nose. Feet facing forwards. Find the pelvic floor. Deep, natural, spontaneous breath. Deep, natural, spontaneous breath. Virabhadrasana Ekam. Raise the arms from the hip joints. Make sure, that's beautiful, my Lord. You're like a dance troupe. You all did it so simultaneously. Beautiful to watch. Back toes turn in. Front foot leg turns out. Oh, and face the whole body face. What a beautiful crowd. And walk your front foot further across the width of the mat. And lift your back heel, externally rotate it and land it. Lightly tone the tummy. So reiterative waves going from pubis to chest, finding the pelvic floor, a beautiful spontaneous buoyancy. Inhale, raise up your fingers from hips. Exhale, bend your front knee. Breathe and play into the groin of the back leg. And you can do that by moving the foot, changing the alignment of the foot, changing the placement of the weight on the back foot. All purposed, āsana is purpose, to bring everything together into agreement. Body, brain, breath, various tissues. So lots of little movements can help align and realign. Inhale with the pelvic floor fully in your awareness. Come up, turn back to the front, take a big circle, hands to your hips. Take a deep breath in, followed by a deep breath out. Oh Lord, raise the arms up. Roots of the neck soft, lightly tone the tummy. Back toes in, front foot and leg out, whole body turns. Walk the front foot further across the width of the mat. Good. But don't forget to lift the back heel, externally rotate it and descend it. Inhale, raise up from the hip joints. Exhale, bend your front knee, but focus on the back leg, particularly the groin, the top of the inner thigh. That's very soft, sensitive tissue in the groin. So you can feel it, the stretch of the psoas and the iliacus muscles. Tease them round, which you can do by playing with the back foot, lifting things like lifting the toes, lifting the heel. Maybe sometimes I find myself exclusively balanced on the ball of the foot on the big toe side. Beautiful. Lots of little adjustments. Inhale, come on up, turn back to the front, hands on the hips. Take a deep breath or two. One more down face dog. I suddenly realize the time's running away. Down face dog when you're ready. Good. Great. So breathing into your downward facing dog. Inner armpit, outer armpit, under armpit, all opening up. Stretching through the back. Come down slow and easy. Sit in any comfortable seated position. I'm going to sit in Siddhasana, which I'm going to sit on a cork block for. But if you're more comfortable in another seated position, like Sukhasana, cross-legged with a blanket underneath, maybe sitting on 2 blocks, Virasana, kneeling with a block between the heels and buttocks, whatever you're comfortable to sit in that. Be aware of your heart center, hands to the heart center. And we'll chant together Om, placing that Om in the heart. It's called Nyasa, to place, as we chant it. Take a deep breath in. And then deep breaths follow. And imagine that Om is there now in the heart. You've chanted it to spark it off. It's still resounding. Om. It's still resounding. Om. This heart area is sometimes called the anahata, which means the unstruck sound. And the Om is the unstruck sound because it has no beginning. It's just the sound of the totality. No beginning, no end. Whereas a struck sound, like if you strike a bell, that has a beginning, or strike a piano string with a piano hammer after pressing the key, that's a struck sound. But the Om is just the sound of the way things are, the Dzogchen. We're going to lay on our backs for Shavasana. I'll have to. I'll tidy your stuff up. Don't worry about that. Yeah. Laying on your back. Make sure you're comfortable. So I wasn't talking to you at home. I won't tidy your stuff up. So you're at home too far away. Shoulder blades scooted under the body, palms facing up. And hopefully, what we've practiced today culminates here in this Dzogchen modality. As we just rest in what we sometimes call, different traditions use different words. Some traditions call it the matrika, the mother. Because everything is the source of everything. So it's one field. Some call it prakriti, which means to create forth. It's the same, pretty much the same word as procreate. But it's the field of everything of which everything is part that you rest in. The field of everything of which everything is part. Body, brain, breath, everything resting in everything. Feel the full weight of your limbs, your arms, your legs, your head. Everything, full weight. In the field, there are no people. There's no beginning or end. There's no history or future. There's nothing you have to be or not be. And so there is no clinging. And when there's no clinging, we fall. Patan, we fall. Into our true nature, ageless, timeless, genderless, nameless. Pure potential. Peace. Pure potential. Peace. When you're ready, bend your legs and place the soles of the feet onto the floor and just scoot the buttocks under. And love to hear you take a deep breath, letting go the lower back entirely into the breath. Letting go the lower back entirely into the breath. Roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room. Or onto either side if you're at home. That instruction might not be relevant at home. Roll again in your own time and lay as comfortably as you can on your other side. Knees drawn up, tummy soft. Let in light and color, sound and sensation. You might rub your eyes or stretch out an arm or a leg. And when you feel ready to come up, bring yourself up nice and easy from the side. Bring your hands together in a prayer position. By the way, this is Manjushri. Manjushri, this is everyone. If you agree with the following sentence, then say Om at the end as I say Om. May any benefit gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thanks very much for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you, gang. Next week, I won't be teaching. I'll be on my way back from Wyndham, if that is how you pronounce it. But the very incredibly handsome Pablo will be teaching in my stead. So do come for that. Sorry about the sound thing earlier. Thank you for sticking with me. Not just through that, but through everything else. Very grateful. And love you loads. Love you. Good to see you. Try and be good during the week. Does this work? Oh, go on. See you, gang. Love you. Great to see you. Bye.